This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Here we go, Andy. We are in August. It's hot. Heat wave is out here. It's like SummerSlam. We are ready for some wrestling. Part 2. Last week we killed some wrestling with our buddy Carnage Perez, Hall of Famer on the independent circuit. Go check out last week's show. We did top 4 baby faces in wrestling of all time. Now we are coming for another wrestling. We've got a good buddy on. But Andy, how was your summer?
Summer was great, man. We're throwing out all of these wrestling puns as we can. I had a bash at the beach. I really did. I had a bash at the No, it was a great time, man. It was and
I can't wait for Halloween Havoc because it's gonna get cold.
There you go. Well, it's been a slam. It's been a summer slam.
Yeah. So we got a couple people in the chat. If you're in the chat, say hello. Follow us along in the chat, and we're going to do our top 4 of our Rushmore. Now, I see some new friends out there. Look, I'm going to throw you guys some wrenches. Wrenches are for all my new friends, and this is for you. I just want to say hello and welcome to the Summit Squad. Here we go.
There it is.
I'm pulling you guys up right now. I'm about to throw you down a wrench. If you're in the chat and you are a part of the show, we want you to follow along with us. We got a great guest. We've got great people. And we're going to talk our top 4 wrestling matches. Man, this one was hard. It was easy, but then it was hard because there's a lot of information you got to go and chase to figure this out. I mean, right. It has a lot to do with it's your favorite people. But I could pick my favorite people who fought on a Saturday night, a Wednesday night, a Tuesday night, but you got to look about the feud, the belt,
it's the build-up. It's the build-up. It's the finish. It's the what does it add to the story of everything? I mean, there's just so much that goes into this. There's interferences. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, I'm sure.
So, but I just want to say hello to a few people. David, I see you in the house. Got a wrench your way. Paul in the 619, that's our guest today, being a little jumpy. Kevin, Random Ritz, see you guys. The Bud Files, welcome back. DJ Wise, of course. DJ was on the show not long ago. And Books with the Crazy Lady, she's back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to take a little trip down memory lane and do wrestling matches. Now, here's the thing. If you don't like wrestling matches, that's fine. We will have a lot of fun with you anyways. Enjoy the chat. Hang out, be a part of the Summit Squad. If you haven't already done so, hit that like and subscribe. The more times we hit that like, the more people we get to share our dream with and have a little fun. So, Andy, wrestling matches. I've been watching wrestling since I was a young kid. That puts me about mid to late 80s. And, man, I've watched a lot of this. And it was my first 1 or 2 was like that. The next 2, just a little research. I was like, oh yeah. The next set, there's a lot. And we'll see how that goes and how it all falls in. So I think it's time. Let's not waste any time. We got 7 people in the chat going to follow us along. Let's get started with our Rushmore of can't do it without the video. Wrestling matches. Here we go. All right, Andy. So here's the deal. Been telling you guys, I follow around, try to make our way as a creator. Creation in the YouTube world is really fun. It's you can do whatever. I see people that kind of just don't do anything and they get thousands of views. It drives me crazy. And then you work real hard. And we've been working real hard to try and do a good production value and at least an enjoyable show to welcome people back. And then I landed on a few people's live. And I mentioned to you, Andy, hey, what if we went live? Now, live was a little different for us because we were originally kind of filming ahead of time and then editing, post-edit, and dropping it like a week or 2 later. Well, I landed in a few friends, namely Bert, right? Actually, it was Pick and Preacher first. It's funny, Pick and Preacher led me to Bert. Bert led me to Chance. By chance, I found Vogs. Vogs led me to about 10 other people like DJ Wise. And then all of a sudden, I land on this show, and they go live pretty often, once a week. And he calls it Paul and the 619 and his amazing friends. I want you guys to give a round of applause in the chat. Say hello to our new buddy and our new guest host, Paul Santos from Paul and the 619. Welcome to the show.
Oh, there it is.
What's up, man? You know what?
Oh.
The thing is that, I love your guys' energy. And the thing is, when you guys invited me to the show, I was very honored. You guys are awesome. I love what you do. I love your show. And the thing is that, my show on Tuesday nights, it's nothing without my amazing friends. And, the thing is that, I know DJ Wise was on this show, and you guys know Vogs. I mean, I couldn't do what I do without those guys. So I wanted to say, shout out to my amazing friends, all 16 of them.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
So sometimes I show up and it's like a checkerboard. There's so many people. And if you show up over at Paul's show, he's got crazy videos cut with all their faces dancing and making fun of them.
I love it.
It's an older show for an older crowd. And so if you want to show up over there, that's great. He dude, it's funny. It's hilarious. He gives birthday shout outs. Just don't do Betty White, because if you've been hanging around long enough, we shouted out Betty White, and we were celebrating her 100th birthday, pre-100th birthday, and then she died. And so we had to go change it all in post-edit and redo it. But you guys do the birthday shout outs. My birthday and Andy's birthday is in this month, so we need a shout out.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Andy's is in like 2 weeks.
No, mine's on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, about a week.
Okay. Well, I don't.
And then mine's in like 2.5 weeks. I'm at the end of the month. So here's the deal. Tell us right now, got 9 people in the house. Hey, everybody has got a wrench, I think, which means you are a moderator. As long as you're cool, I'm cool. If you're not cool, we send you somewhere else. We thank you for being here, but we can't have that. We like to say this. So both you, Andy and I, are both youth pastors, and we're not a Christian channel, especially when we're live, but we're not a Christian channel. So there are some of our friends and some of our kids that'll show up in here. So as long as you guys are all where we're going to be. All right. So Maritza's in the house. Welcome. I see Patrick showing little. Welcome. DJ, all you guys, love you. Now here's the deal. Paul, share with our friends where they can find you, when they can find you, and how they can find you.
All right. Well, thank you, Kurt. And Andy, you guys are awesome, man. So as far as of myself, the thing is, I started a live stream in January, and it's nothing like what it is now. It's kind of like a work in progress, and it's what I love about it is that I get to hang out with my friends, and we talk about stuff that we love, comic books, sports cards, sports, movies, all kinds of stuff. And the thing is that again, I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for my amazing friends, the people that I'm on the stream with. For example, Random Rips, he took over the birthdays, the notable birthdays. So he took that off my plate. So now it's his segment. And then as far as sports, I have Vogs 18, and I also have Mr. Fidget, and they do the sports. But the thing is it's very collaborative. A lot of the segments that we have on the show weren't my idea. It's like the guys in the group that did that. So yeah, I definitely thank them. But yeah, we're all most of us are content creators. We all have our own channels. Crash by Bethany, DJ Wise, Random Rips, Trev the Shipping Guru, Vogs 18, and the rest of you guys. They all have their own channels. So yeah, The thing is that what's great about the community, they've been very supportive of my channel and my friends' channels. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Well, welcome
that's
to
this
the
is all
show.
about
This is
community.
what I love to say. Look, before we started jumping in other people's communities, our community was very tight knit, just our friends.
Yeah.
Now it has expanded to us entertaining and having fun in your community as well as other people. Here's the big problem. It almost in this community world, you're like, man, I didn't see Paul in the live, and vice versa. Man, I didn't see Kirk in the live. Dude, there's so many lives going on in all these communities. And then with just life happening, I'm like, sorry, I missed it. And so I get it if you miss our show, especially on a Friday night. Go take your wife out for dinner, whatever you got to do.
It can be a full-time job if you try to follow everybody and watch everyone's show.
It absolutely could be. And and I would love it to be a full-time job if I got paid right, but it's not. This is just a hobby. And so I get it if you kick it. So with that being said, everybody's got a wrench. One of the reasons I like to give a wrench out, especially on your phone, if you go, guys, and if you are on your phone and you hit each person's thing and you scroll up, there's a spot right there. You can go to their channel and it brings you right to Kenneth's channel. So anybody that's in here, you can go to their channel and sub them and then come back. And after our show, go over there and watch a couple shorts and join their community too. And then come on back next Friday, as we always do. Now, we're either on Friday or Thursdays. Thursdays is when we have life happen, because that's what happens. It's life, and it happens. So we chose Fridays real early. I probably would not choose Fridays knowing the other communities so we don't overlap and all that kind of stuff. But it's worked for us. So welcome. So I see a bunch of friends in there. Kenneth, welcome back to the show. Kenneth was one of our first award winners back in the day. He won a little pop from us. And let's get started. So, Rushmore of wrestling matches. Paul, you're going to be up first. I'm second today, and Andy is third. I'm just warning you. One, school has started. I'm a teacher and a pastor, and school started. I'm a little hoarse because also not only did school start, but baseball started. So I'm coaching, I'm teaching, and I'm a little dry. So I keep trying to drink this. I'm gonna be full pretty soon. So here's the deal. You're up first, Paul.
Okay. Thank you.
We're gonna go criteria. If you've never been to the show, our new friends, criteria means what made you pick a certain thing, a certain way. So, for instance, people usually pick it because it's nostalgic, it's iconic, the memories of being at the show, or the memories of seeing it with all your buds, a specific title, a specific character that might have been a run. Now, don't give out your list, but what were you thinking when you curated the list? And then we're going to start with number 4, which is your Rosie. So, Paul, what were you thinking on your criteria when you were kind of putting
it was funny because we were kind of talking earlier, and I changed my list like several times. You know what I mean? Because when you have time to think about the matches, because a match will pop in your head, and then you write it down, and then all of a sudden, now that you're thinking about it, you start remembering all these other matches. So my list has changed several times since we've talked to each other.
Yeah. So I'll say this. As I sat down in this chair, getting ready to wait for you to come in, it hit me. Oh my God, I forgot that one. So I went and added it. Now, it's just a Benjamin, and it's a really good match, and it might be mentioned today. So a Benjamin, for everybody out there, Benjamin Franklin's considered possibly the 5th guy on the Mount Rushmore at one time. And so he's the honorable mentions. Our first guy is, we rank the guys, the heads on the mountain, and the first guy is Roosevelt. We call him Rosie. We're friends. He's number 4. So, Paul, Rosie is your number 4. Who is the bottom match? Now, look, I know you haven't been on the show before, so there's a couple ways that you can do it, Paul. You can just jump out and be like, number 4 is blank. Or you can lead us in if you got some info. It's your part. Let us know who your Rosie is.
Okay, so for my my number 4 match, it was in 2018. It was it wasn't even really like a federation. It wasn't like WWE or AEW. It was a couple dudes, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, and they put this pay-per-view together in Chicago. It
Yes.
was in Chicago, Illinois. It was at the Sears Center Arena, and it was one of the title matches. It was Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis, and it was a great match. It was so awesome. You know, the thing is that the funny thing is, right now Cody Rhodes is in WWE, and Nick Aldis is like a general manager, and he sets up the matches. But that match itself was amazing. It for me. It hit all the right spots. I mean, there was great entrances. I remember when Cody Rhodes came in, he had like guys like Diamond Dallas Page with him. He had his father-in-law, his wife. It was the thing is that for me, I have to feel the match, and when I saw that, it was very emotional. And then just the fact that there was a lot of buildup for this match. Nick Aldis would be on NWA talking about the match, and then Cody Rhodes with the Young Bucks, they would do their own videos, and then the thing what I liked about it, and I think it really changed the way wrestling is today. They make it look official. They sign the contracts. They do like interviews, and then they have like leading up to the match, they had a lot of like promo videos. So there was it was like a heavyweight fight. It was a lot of hype to it. So, and then when the match actually happened, it did not disappoint. So out of my 4, that was number 4.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So here's the thing. 2018, I'm not recollecting any kind of wrestling. There's like if you've watched this before when we talk about wrestling, and as I get into my list, you'll understand this. Get no hate on this. It's just I don't have the exposure, I guess, to this that I would have if I were to keep with the sport for a while. But I do appreciate it. I do know that Kirk has kept up more recently with some wrestling stuff, so maybe he's got there for sure. There you go.
That's what's up.
Look at that thing.
Yeah.
So, Cody Rhodes, I'm a huge fan.
Yep.
And I gained momentum in being a fan shortly after this match. So, and then I went back and I watched. So, for everybody out there, what Andy was talking about is both of us kind of stopped watching wrestling for a period. And my period of time was about the big time run of John Cena and Sting getting kind of. So when Sting went to WWE, I talked about this last week, he really got crapped on. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I'm a huge Sting fan, huge WCW fan when he went over. And no shade on John Cena. I love the guy. But John Cena kind of took the mantle of WWE at the time. And I missed a lot of his run. And I just did. Like Stone Cold, The Rock, The Attitude Time, Sting, and the WCW interfering, coming over. And Sting was later. He waited a couple years. And then he got crapped on. And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of out. And then I'll share this. My daughter, I talk about this often. My daughter plays high-level softball. You follow my social media, you know. And she is at the top of the game. And she works out at this gym, and the gym is in Atlanta. And in Atlanta, she goes and works this guy Trip. And in the back corner of Trip, there's this thing on the wall, and it's a tattoo that's on somebody's neck named Cody Rhodes, and it's called the Nightmare Factory. And the Nightmare Factory is over here in the corner. And I show up to watch my daughter, run sprints and stuff, and I look over and I'm like, oh, I know that. I know who that guy is, and I can't place him. And I go back, this was a couple years ago, And I'm like, oh, that's freaking Dusty Rhodes' kid. Oh, that's Stardust. Oh, that's blah, blah, blah. So I start following him again. Long story short, I go and I see that he's doing this all-in match, or he did this all-in match. And this is kind of where he gained momentum to get back where he was. He did that, and then he kind of did the A&E thing. And then after A&E, he's the guy, and he leaves. He shows up, and we all knew it was going to happen. He was going to finish the story. I was there on day one when, after COVID, in Atlanta, when day one, the pay-per-view was there. And then I was there last January when he showed up and Brock Lesnar speared him and was yelling at his mom. I was there. And watching Cody come out is electrifying. It's absolutely electrifying. He is the new guy. I'm expecting him to go super heel soon. That's just my guess. He's doing it great. He's doing great. I know he just had some things with Roman, but going back, Young Bucks, underrated. They're A&E, TNA, all that stuff. They've been in the Japan side with
you know
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. All those guys are all friends. Great guys. They do this all-in match, and this is kind of where so Aldis retains the NWA title, but it's kind of where Cody gets that to get moving in the right in a main eventer style, and kind of leave not only his dad but his brother in the dust. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Look, Gold Dust is great. Stardust was great, but Cody's doing it, man. And I appreciate this pick. I don't have anything on my list that early. I can tell you that. I mean, when you said 2018, I'm like, this is going to be interesting. But yeah, I don't have none. So good pick.
Nice.
Good pick.
Thanks.
Anybody in the chat, do you agree? High five Paul on that. So DJ Wise is saying Taker HBK, WrestleMania 27, Eddie Brock NWO, Eddie Brock like Venom.
Like Venom.
No, I'm just kidding. Eddie Brock NWO 2004, Austin Brett WrestleMania 13. Love that match. Steamboat.
It's a good list. DJ Wise, good list.
Steamboat Savage. Yeah, best top 4 show on YouTube. There better be, because I don't know any other top 4 YouTubers. But anyway, here we go.
I know a favorite 5 show.
I do. Fave 5 fans. You'll find him. He's a good buddy of ours. Fave 5 fans. So if you like old horror movies and things like that, and Twister, and he does all kinds of stuff. Fave 5 fans. Go check him out. His name's Jamie Ray. And he's been on the show before. My turn. Rosie is number 4. Now, we've always say this. It's like the line in the sand. That's kind of like our tagline. I need a shirt that says that. Because not only is it a line and it's saying nobody else can make it, but it is a line in the sand and you can kind of erase it and start over. But it's building up that mountain. My number 4, my top 4 is pretty easy, Andy. My first one, it's the GOAT. The second one, I was like, oh yeah. The third and fourth, once I saw them in writing on something, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then I started fighting with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and like how I can get them on the list because they're all so great. Now, my number 4 is going back, and many people are going to say this is the George, but my top 3 just have a lot more for me. I'm going 2009, WrestleMania 25, the Dead Man against the Sexy Man. I'm going Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25.
There you go.
This is a fantastic match. I've watched it about 15 times in the last week. Just to recap it, you see, there's so many pinfalls. Don't do that. Pinfalls. You got Undertaker walking the tightrope. You've got street chin music. You've got so much going on. Undertaker goes over the top rope and lands on his head. Now look, Undertaker's a big man, right? He lands on his head. He looks like he's out.
Yep.
So many things. Of course, WrestleMania 25, the streak is still on the line. So many times you think it's over and Shawn Michaels is going to take it. Shawn Michaels goes up, top rope. Undertaker catches him. Uh-oh. Boom. Peace out. Good night. Fold him up. Good night. Shawn Michaels, you lose. And Undertaker moves on. And unfortunately, a few years later, loses the streak to old Brock. But I'm going, this this is just one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. So many moments, so much storytelling happening, so many good timing moments. You got finisher after finisher after finisher. The feud leading up. These are the two top guys of the card, pretty much. It's not for the title, but these are the guys that have been carrying it with NWO, with the ministry, and all the other things. So I'm going Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, 2009. And this was on WrestleMania 25, April 5th, 2009 was the show. And Undertaker leaves out of that 17-0.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. That was what I was going to say. That was 17.
That was on my list. That was on my list. It wasn't in my top 4, but it was on the list because that was a definitely
that's on your list,
match.
Benjamin. It's gone. So if you're not going to say it today, it's gone for you. Andy, if you bring it up, obviously, Paul, if you've been here, you see that it's a Rushmore. Now, Andy, you like this match?
Yeah, Benjamin again for me. I tried to, as much as possible. I'm going to go talk about this in a minute, but I tried to make this not a top 4 Undertaker matches, and it's so hard to not do that because he's literally the GOAT.
He's his guy. He's my guy too. He's on my mountain. If we ever do that, here's the thing: we don't usually do the GOAT talk because it's controversial, but once we do that, it's kind of like, okay, what are you coming to watch now? We can't always lead up to it. We can't wait. Right. One day we're going to have the GOAT talk, and we're going to talk about the GOATs. But these are the GOATs of matches. And, Undertaker's your guy. We know. I got
a fun idea that just came to my head. What if we did a series, maybe it wasn't even lives or something, just saying this while it's on the top of my head, of GOATs in different sports categories. So, like your basketball, whatever. And then we do a March Madness bracket style. Who's the GOAT?
Bracketology. I love it. I love it. Now, we'll have arguments depending on who our friends are. Because look, in about 3 weeks, we're going into sports. We got some friends that are so sport-oriented that this is not a sport. We're on both sides. We would put wrestling over there.
This is absolutely a sport.
On my show, when we talk sports, wrestling is in the sports.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we can talk sports. We can talk wrestling all the way through sports. So, yeah. Now, Paul, this is on your Benjamin, and I appreciate that. I saw it, I believe. Yes. No.
DJ White said it, but he said he got the wrong number. It was his picture.
So WrestleMania 25.
Okay. So all agree. 3 people.
Yeah.
It's on our list.
It seems to be maybe it's George. It's a great match. Listen, if you've seen this match, it's crazy. So, all right.
They're in their prime, too. Both of them are in their prime. Yeah.
I mean, so this was 2009. This is 15 years ago. 15 years ago. And,
15 years ago.
And, they're doing it. This isn't like Hulk Hogan, saggy boobs going out there and doing it. These guys are.
Yeah.
We're in it. So
this is awesome.
Andy, you're up.
All right, man. So again, criteria for me, I wanted to say they had to be matches that I watched, but here's the problem. Most of the GOAT matches of all time were pay-per-view, and my family was not buying pay-per-view. Doesn't matter what they did. Like, you want me to pay money for this event? So occasionally, I had a friend in my neighborhood growing up. Again, I'm an Attitude Era WWF, WWE guy. This was just where I was at. I love WCW Nitro. Even I love the Monday Night Wars. I love all that kind of stuff that was happening. NWO. I mean, that was my realm of time where I was big into wrestling. Much like you, like I was into that Brock Lesnar, John Cena kind of time, but not for very long. I mean, that was kind of on my tail end of things. And that was it, really. And I honestly, since then, haven't. I love the nostalgia of looking back at it. I love how they still, in some cases, honor some of these guys who have been staples and things like that. But
wait, can I interrupt you just for a second because I'll lose this song?
Go for it.
You know what the greatest wrestling match of all time is? It's John Cena and him deciding when to cut his hair. That's the greatest wrestling match. Dude, the guy needs to just go with it, bro. Just go with it.
That's awesome.
It's him versus that heroin, and it is a battle royale. Here's the deal.
Coming in from the left side.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So, with all of that said, my most recent match on my top 4 is 2001. So, I mean, that's literally the newest. I mean, we're talking 23 years ago now. Would be my most recent one, with most of these being mid to late 90s, right? Is kind of where I'm going with these. On top of that, all 4 of these matches have some of my favorite wrestlers, right? There's not one necessarily that I hate out of these. Every one of these 4 had some type of significance moving forward, I think, for the Federation, or the whatever we wanted to call it at the point it became WWE. Back when I was listening to Kiss cassette tapes, yeah. But funny story, side note, I had a drawer full of cassette tapes, Kiss cassette tapes. I literally had all of them on cassette. Funny that you mentioned that. So it was during the time I was listening to Kiss cassette tapes. So with all that said, I most of these I didn't actually watch as it was happening, but I have watched it since. And in fact, all 4 of mine I've watched at least twice today in just preparation, like watch the whole thing through. Some of them I watched like almost like a documentary on this, because it was just so significant and what it meant. What I was talking about in the beginning is that a lot of these wrestling matches had so much build up. It wasn't just some like random 2 guys against each other and it just happened to be a good fight. There was so much building this up. There was so much that went into the storytelling of this and everything that just made this amazing match. So for all 4 of these, they have those different things here. And I'm going to start with one. This was in 1997, March 23rd, 1997. And we're going to WrestleMania 13.
Oh.
I'm going for Stone Cold versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Submission only match. This thing was crazy. Now, there's so many things going into this. Obviously, you look at all the buildup of Stone Cold and Bret Hart. Stone Cold kind of got cheated out of like this Royal Rumble thing. His chance at a title. You had all of these things. Then all leading up to this, he was interrupting matches against Bret Hart. There was really like this feud that was brewing between the two. And then obviously in Stone Cold's case, and even Bret Hart, like there was all like the backstage talking, the promos, everybody's talking smack, and nobody talks smack probably better than Stone Cold, I don't believe. Maybe The Rock is like the next, it's like 1 and 2 right there for those guys. But
that's a show we need to do. Top 4 mic guys, top 4 promo guys.
So you have all of that builds this up, and the match delivers on this, because not only is it just a match between these 2 superstars, but now it becomes this submission thing. And if you know Bret Hart, he's a submission technical wrestler, grew up. That was just a shooter. You got, all of that stuff that is just, that's his wheelhouse. But people forget too, like there was a time where Steve Austin was known for a lot of technical side of things. The stunner and all those things obviously are happening too, but he could hold his own, and from a technical sense too. There's, in this match, you get the double turn, right? Where Bret Hart is now, his whole career, he's been a babyface up until this point. He's kind of been complaining about matches and just doing all this stuff. He kind of becomes the bad guy, and Stone Cold, who is like this anti-hero guy, kind of becomes this face in all of this too. You have the iconic moment, at the end, Stone Cold doesn't even tap. He passes out, right? And he's bloodied. His whole face is just red. You get that iconic image of that. You get what was really cool about this too. Another thing was that this is kind of ushering in the Attitude Era, right? Where this is on that front end of that happening, and this is one of those catalyst moments for the Attitude Era. And then we, obviously that was my bread and butter when it came to wrestling. So this match is so good. As much as the result, I would wish it would have been Stone Cold winning, but I do love how this whole thing played out. Just a great match, and it was one of the many rivalry battles between the two. So I'm going with 13, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart for my Rosie.
Excellent pick. So I love that you mentioned the double turn. DJ Wise also mentioned it in the chat. Victor, welcome to the show. Victor, I gave you over a wrench.
What's up?
Victor, I've seen you
Victor?
before in the community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You got a wrench, man. And yeah, the ringmaster. Now, here's one thing that you missed, Andy. Leading up to this, Stone Cold won the 1996 King of the Ring. He just won this. And right before this feud started is when Austin 316 says, I just whooped you up.
Yeah.
Now, this just happened with Jake the Snake. I just saw Jake the Snake long ago at one of these card shows, and he looks great. But listen, going back to this match, fantastic. I love the double turn idea. And Bret Hart was the babyface. He's handing out sunglasses, you know. Stone Cold's a jerk, you know. He come from the Stunning Steve. He babyface push kind of with Brian Pillman, moves over to Ringmaster with Ted DiBiase, got the belt, and then he moves up and he says, you know what? I'm going to do this. And he just becomes like wrestling's, you know, bad boy, if you will. And at the end of this, because everybody is just so impressed that he doesn't tap and that Bret just keeps going. You're supposed to be the good guy. Let him go. Have a heart. Have a heart. And he don't. And everybody flips on Bret, which is perfect because now the feud lasts another 6 months because now we get to do it from the other side. Yeah. And it's exactly what Vince wants, and it worked. Great match.
Oh yeah.
It's just and then you got the moment where he's like trying to choke Bret Hart out, and Bret hits him with the chair. I mean, it's just so many amazing moments in this. I think this is where he's becoming, like we said, that heel. He's kind of he's playing up the whole he's from Canada, so it's kind of like this anti-American thing that he's doing. This story.
I think that's the best Bret Hart when he's like, Canadian pride, spit on the Americans, kind of like he never says that, but it's just the arrogance. Dude, that's the best Bret Hart right there.
Yeah, my favorite is when his music hits and during the feud, and like Stone Cold's out there or whoever's out there, and that he's like, oh crud, here he comes. Because
we didn't see this. We didn't say this. Ken Shamrock was the guest referee for this.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
He was in his cut off pinstripe.
Yeah, sleeveless. Yeah.
Good pick, man.
Good pick. Man. That's awesome.
So that's a good start, man. Cody Rhodes, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and with Stone Cold Bret Hart. Man, I can't imagine where we're going. You guys hang on. If that's some of your picks, put it in the chat. Hit that like and subscribe. Now we're down. Now here we do. We don't need to do criteria anymore, Paul. Now we're in it. We're in it. So if you match with one of us, if you pick one of us, it's Rushmore. But if you don't, we're going to keep rolling. This is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson's number 3 on the list. We like to call him TJ Jazzy Jeff. So TJ Jazzy Jeff is number 3. And where are you going, Paul?
All right. You guys are going to be surprised. I actually picked another pretty recent, 2018. Let me set the where it's at. Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Aleister Black versus Adam Cole. These guys pretty much were making a name for themselves in NXT. And for a minute there, I was watching more NXT than WWE, And when they had a feud, that one during this particular match, it's so memorable. It sticks in my head, and I actually watch it once in a while when I want to watch some good wrestling. I mean, it's no disqualification. I mean, they got the katanas. They got what are the bamboo? What are those called?
Kendo sticks.
Kendo sticks. Sorry, yeah, kendo sticks, chairs, tables. I mean, you've seen chairs, tables, and kendo sticks before, but man, just the way they use them is it's such a good match. And the thing is that it's when those guys were up and coming, and now like both of them, they're both in AEW, and Aleister Black, they call him Malachi Black now, I believe.
Malachi Black,
yeah. But that's my number 3.
So I love this pick, and I see Dylan. I was just about to say that. My man Dylan in the chat loves loves not only the Young Bucks and Adam Cole. Now, he might not be a fan of all these guys, but he totally appreciates all these guys. His dude's Kenny Omega. We know all that. We've had him before. That's all his jam. He loves all those guys, and this fits right into that. So I love that my man Dylan's showing up, rolling in here. So he's going to probably have some hot takes with some of your picks.
Nice.
Aleister Black is a cool guy, man.
Oh my gosh,
he's creepy. Like this guy's like, he seems like he's into witchcraft and demonic possession. Like he's just weird. But
I don't think he goes overboard with it though. I don't.
He just comes out. He's
It's
just
questionable because he never
Right.
says like he never
not-
shows. Yeah,
right. He's not like the ministry stuff, and he's
yeah, I
not
know.
like Abyss and Kane and whatever.
Yeah.
But he just has this aura about him, right? It's not
Yeah.
Vampiro, right? It's not that. But like he comes out and you like honestly, I think of like something from Harry Potter, like Sinister Black. Like it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
kind of that like just creepy dude. But
Yeah.
Adam Cole, man, I am a huge fan. This
Yeah, me too.
guy's
Yeah.
super underrated. He's
Yeah.
rolling in AEW. He's got a bunch of championships and whatever, but he's not the megastar talent that the United States likes to portray.
Yeah, he's not the 6'4", 300-pound the guy.
Right.
He's not. He's like
But-
average height, but he has so much charisma.
That's crazy.
Technically, storyline, hitting
Yeah.
his marks, being there.
Yeah, he knows how to work the
Science,
crowd.
He's a
Yeah.
performer. I love
Yeah.
Adam Cole. This
Yeah,
is a
me too.
great pick. I have not
Thank you.
seen this match particularly, so I'm gonna go. It's on my list to watch
Ooh,
probably tonight after
It's
we're
good.
done.
It's so good.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna go pick it up. Go watch it.
nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andy, this is early. I know you're out of wrestling about this time.
I mean, I have no idea. I just had to look up these two guys, so I don't
Yeah.
even know who we're talking about.
So Adam
Yeah.
Cole and the Young Bucks and all those guys, Kevin Owens, they were all like running like the independent circuit.
Yeah, they're all
right?
like
All
buddies.
doing this.
Yeah,
But here he goes. Here, I knew Dylan was coming. Aleister Black's finisher is one of my favorites. And one time my wife distracted me at a live event and I missed it. It was a quiet ride. Yeah. So these guys all like kind of rose up and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like they wrestlers are cool because they all do things on the live to say hello to their friends on the other side. And like, Kevin Owens is still kind of does all those things. And you look at Kevin Owens, I feel like I can go wrestle watching Kevin, right? Like
Yeah.
coming out, and then the guy performs, and I'm like, bro, I'd be dead.
yeah. He just flips, man.
He
Dude,
reminds me of like
he's pretty agile. For a big
Yeah.
man, he's pretty agile. Yeah, he's very impressive.
Anyways, these two guys, I applaud that pick. I love the way you're going. You're still hanging in 2018. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. But I'm going to bring us back. I'm going back
Nice.
to a while back, like maybe 10 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm going with none other than Stone Cold's Bloody Face versus Bret Hart. It's my number 3. It's my TJ Jazzy Jeff. I am happy that you said that, Andy, and you didn't steal like a Benjamin, and I didn't steal a Benjamin because there's so many Benjamins. But I'm shocked because there's so many matches that we're like, boom, we're right on it because you had that. Here's the deal. There's a couple things about this match altogether. This is in kind of the Monday Night Wars, 1996, WCW, WWE. This is the best thing WWE, and it might even have been F still then. I don't remember when that changed.
It was F.
But-
Yeah, it was still F.
Yeah, it was still F. And they're trying to get on track. And here's the deal. This was the pendulum swing. Now, it didn't start immediately. It did not start immediately because WCW for a while was kicking their tail. They rightfully so, because everybody loved to see what was going, the new thing. And everybody kind of thought AEW, TNA was going to do that, but they didn't. And AEW is a great show. TNA is a great show. They've got great talent, but it's not kind of the Monday Night Wars like it used to be. Now,
Mhm.
some things are happening right now, which are like, whoa. whoa, are we about to do this? Like Triple H bringing that stuff to Netflix, Shane McMahon being dangled around at AEW a couple times. Some of those things happening would be really cool. Now, what I would say is this show, Stone Cold goes from being just kind of an okay, high mid-card guy, kind of just good ring performer, kind of washed out from WCW. And that's the best part. Not only is he washed out from WCW, a guy named Terror Rising, who comes over and becomes Triple H, was washed out from WCW. A guy like Kane, who was over there getting jobbed and ridiculous. A guy named Mark Calloway over there is Undertaker. And they just keep picking up these guys. And Stone Cold shows up and has the line of the century. Austin 3:16 says, "I just whooped your tail." And that's because Jake the Snake thinks he's, riding the Bible and whatever. And he becomes an overnight sensation. They ride it all the way through, let him feud with the best guy in the card, and basically tear down Bret Hart. Bret Hart ends up leaving because of Shawn Michaels thing. We know all the story, but this is where it began. And Stone Cold turns out to be one of the best wrestlers of all time because of this match. Like this to me is where he became who he was. And the Zamboni and all of that led to, because he finally got that shot right here, and he stuck through that sharpshooter. Great stuff. You mentioned all the other stuff, Andy. Ken Shamrock, and what? There it is. Yeah, what? Yeah, and that was later. That was even later. And look, Stone Cold don't get hurt all the time. Hurt his neck, hurt his knees, hurt his whatever. And speaking of podcasts, his podcast is awesome. Undertaker's podcast is awesome. So that's going to be my number 3.
Nice.
Just added a few little things.
You
But
know what else is crazy about this? WrestleMania 13. This was match 4 of the night.
Yeah.
This wasn't even like the main event. The main event was Taker versus Psycho Sid, right? Which
everybody thought was going to be the jam, because these two guys were like towers.
Yeah.
And Sid's one of those guys for me who he held the belt and then he gave it away. And we talked about it in Big Man. It did not amount to what Stone Cold and Bret's doing. Like, Bret's probably disrespected. Bret probably walks up to Shawn and goes, "Hey, we're about to take this thing back over. You ready? Yeah. I'm going to put you in this. You're going to put me in that. Hit all our moves." And the storytelling was fantastic.
Yeah, they even had the Legion of Doom came out after this match.
I forgot that.
Ahmed Johnson and the Legion of Doom defeated the Nation of Domination. Like, what in the world? Like, this was an event. Yeah. I mean, Vader was right before this. Like, there was, but this is the match that everyone talks about at WrestleMania 13. And I was watching some things today, and this, in preparation for this, they were saying, like, as a whole, I think WrestleMania 13 was like the least viewed WrestleMania in history up to that point. Like, it was like hardly anything.
Oh, WCW, bro. Like, people were like,
But this is what saved this event, was this one matchup. So, let's talk about
I remember watching I think it was a documentary, and they were talking about that the pay-per-view mid-match was getting ordered.
Yeah.
Like, people were like, "Bro, get in this.
Yeah.
Go get it right now." Yeah. And back in the day, Andy, you mentioned this, pay-per-views. You didn't get to watch them, but I was kind of, this was my high school time. And all of us high school kids would get together at one person's house, and we would all bring like $10 and, a bag of chips,
that's
and
awesome.
We would pay for the pay-per-view all together and all sit in our living room and watch back in the day when the Monday Night Wars were going. So we got to watch all these pay-per-views. We talked the parents into doing it. And so I got to see these live. Well, not live, but live in my house.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, I'm going to continue. I'm not going to, obviously, I can't crush more of that because that was already my pick that we crushed more with. But you just said an interesting 3 words, and you didn't even mean to say it, but you said "in my house." And there was this event Well, Bad Blood in your house. The year was 1997. I'm going to stay in that year.
Oh,
A couple months later, October 5th, another pay-per-view. And this match was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, HBK, right? Now, this was a Hell in a Cell. This was like the first Hell in the Cell match that happened so that they couldn't escape. Obviously, the match was good, but you want to know the reason that I picked this match specifically? This is the debut of the long-lost brother of Undertaker, Kane. Kane comes out with and he now listen, Taker loses this match because of the interference. Taker absolutely destroyed HBK in this. But Kane comes out and rips the door off of the Hell in a Cell, right? Goes and throws the ref against it, comes in there, stares down Taker for a while, and then flips him and pile drives him, and then leaves in enough time for Shawn to kind of jump back up there. Now, here's the deal. Obviously, that whole thing, he does the flames out of the turnbuckles. He does the whole deal there. But it's the buildup, right? Again, we're talking about storytelling, right? It's this buildup we've been hearing about. We knew, honestly, you know what's funny? If you look back at Undertaker early in his career, I think his first time he came out on TV, he was called Kane. He was Undertaker, but he was Kane Calloway or something. Kane was in his name. And then it was told over time that he lost his brother in this fire, lost his family. And then there was all of this buildup. And somebody just said it. Victor said it. By God, that's got to be Kane. That's got to be Kane. I mean, that's one of the greatest you hear from JR. But yeah, the build up to that. The match itself, again, is going to be overshadowed by Kane's interference, obviously. But the matchup itself was really good. It's the first Hell in a Cell. It's all of these types of things that are happening. Taker is just he's got this thing sealed away, right? Until this happens, and he just is totally out of this. Obviously, then that ushered in Kane and his whole story plot. Who's still now he's a mayor or a governor or something like that. Glenn Jacobs, but all of those things. Then we had the runs of the Brothers of Destruction, but it all started here at the debut of Kane, and that is why this is my next on my list. If you know me, Taker and Kane, probably top two guys for me.
David's been up here with jokes, the poke of doom for the George. No. Hey, listen, one thing that, and you may have said this, and I might have missed it, and I apologize if you did. This particular match was for the number one contendership. Number one contendership between Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Now, Michaels, a guy in DX at the time, Kane, Undertaker's, if I remember, Paul Bearer, it was kind of a part of bringing Kane, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And he came in, he was
so they kind of had things, and he keeps warning him, whatever. And so then Kane comes out. And what happens is when Shawn, this is look, this is fantastic storytelling.
So Yoda.
What happens is Shawn gets the number one contendership, and now he has to go fight number one contendership. At the same time, what are we going to do with Undertaker? Well, we got 8 months of fighting Kane and figuring out who this guy is. So now we have two number one matches that we're going to do. What you forgot to think is this number one contendership goes on to be Survivor Series, the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels goes in to fight Bret Hart. And Bret Hart has the contract apparently with WCW, and he's going to take the belt. Yeah. And Vince changes on him and says, but he got the contendership. Shawn got it from this match.
Yeah. So, I mean, you talk about, butterfly effect. What does every little thing do? And it's hard to trace. I mean, this is one of those ones you can, but I mean, just to bring out a character in that fashion is just the best, right? And
hey, Yoda, hey, everybody. Again, you all have wrenches. Go check out Yoda's show. Yoda likes to do the card communities, got the cards going. Great little show. He's showing off his collection, and that's awesome. And Finn the Collector, he's one of our guys from the conventions. Go follow his stuff. He's a guy that's kind of selling retro things and awesome. Welcome back to the show, Finn. And Finn used to be in Andy's band. That's a fun fact.
Oh,
so all right, we are halfway through, and it's time. It's commercial time. Yeah, it's commercial time. If you've been around here long enough, you mentioned Vader, and it was on top of my head. Right here, these are my friends, the Culture Box. Paul, you have the Amazing Friends. We over here have the Culture Box. And
nice.
The Culture Box comes and shows up on our show every once in a while. We'll probably have them a lot more coming up in food and video games, and
cool.
We'll have them coming on again. But these are 6 different creators that are Christian in nature, and they do movies, TV, video games, podcasting, things from old, things from new, and a lot of friends.
Sounds
Some
awesome.
of them are live actually right now. And so we're going to do a commercial to kind of celebrate Culture Box and all of our friends. Andy, who do you want to share this week?
Hey, we've got our good friends over at we love cartoons here, so I figured it'd be cool. Let's chat.
They're live right now.
We're live right now. And let's tell you all about our friends over at the Cellcast. The Cellcast hosts Jacob and Drew review animated movies and TV shows, discussing what they appreciate about the medium in whatever form it takes. Whether it's a traditional hand-drawn animated movie, claymation shorts, or a 3D CGI series. Check out some animated reviews when you subscribe to The Cellcast at thecellcast.podbean.com. And don't forget, Cell is spelled with a C and a single L at thecellcast.podbean.com. There's our friends, Drew, good friend. Awesome. We were on their show twice now, right? We've been on there twice to talk about
and then we
one of the greatest movies of all time, Warriors of Virtue. If you've never watched a Kung Fu Kangaroo movie, you should do that. And then we also talked about some shorts, right? We talked about Lava.
Not these kind of short, eat your shorts, but actually movie shorts.
Salute your shorts? Maybe.
Salute your shorts.
Yeah, go check them out. Let them know that the Rushmore show sent you. Give them some love. Check them out. They're live right now, but don't leave our live yet. I know you can be on.
I'll tell them hello in a minute. Jacob's back from being married, and he's not divorced yet, so they are live tonight.
Oh,
and before we leave, I would like to share a few things. A couple years ago, a year and a half ago, we were invited to, and we had him in the chat just a few minutes ago. One of them, Davey, he said the #1 top 4 ranking podcast of all time. Well, that's our guy, Davey. Davey does conventions. If you guys love conventions, whether it's comic books, movies, games, whatever, Davey runs one of the best ones in Louisiana called Louisiana Retro Con. And we're in another one called St. Tammany Collectors Con. Hopefully, we had some friends a couple weeks ago called Peli-Con. And we got some other conventions that we would love to kind of join in. At one of those conventions, we're talking wrestling. This one was at St. Tammany Collectors Con. I was able to get this fantastic piece of work. And let me
Sergeant Slaughter.
There it is. Boom. Sergeant Slaughter and his auto, because we got to meet the man, the myth, the legend, and let's show that.
Wait, but give a warning. If you have headphones in, turn them down now.
Turn those headphones down right now. And Andy, it is right here. No, that's not it. This one's it, right? I think this is it. I might be wrong.
Sergeant Slaughter, ID number 199-20017. Attention, maggots. This is Sergeant Slaughter from the WWE and G.I. Joe, the real American hero. And you're watching the Rushmore show. This is the top 4 and nothing more. And that's an order. Yo, Joe! I don't know what that fellow said there in all that different type of language, but he says it'll take more than a whistle to beat him. Well, let me tell you, how does it slaughter cannon sound.
So the funny thing is, my son is named.
I love that.
My son is named
That's
Cannon,
dope.
and he says the slaughter cannon, and he put him in the Cobra Clutch. Got a little thing, but here's the deal. I don't want to just share about the con at the conventions. Andy and I are both youth pastors. We love the Lord. We've been following him for a few years now, but we come from bad side. Both Andy and I are over 10 years sober. We weren't always on this side of the tracks. It's why we love doing this podcast. We get to talk about our old stuff and our new stuff. But the cool thing is these guys, they invite us to the conventions. We get a table. We get to hang out. We get to make friends with everybody. We do a whole bunch of live Rushmores with guests and booths. But we also get to preach at the convention to the people in the convention. And so we call it Reboot. It's right down here under me. Reboot. A reboot is just a start over, just like a reborn again. And so we call the ministry Reboot. And I just wanted to share this with you really quickly.
Prepare to make the jump to light speed.
They're getting closer.
Oh, yeah? Watch this.
So just to share with you real quick, we are going to be at Louisiana RetroCon, and this Louisiana RetroCon, last one I preached on Five Nights at Freddy's because we have Five Nights at Freddy's guests. Five Nights at Freddy's was actually on our show, some of the people from the movie. This time we are going to do, I'm going to preach on wrestling, and well, that's fun. And if you come to our show, sometimes on a Sunday, we have other friends that are teachers, preachers, pastors, leaders in the church. And they're going to come on, including Dylan's been invited and some other people to come on and do their own little nerdy devotion. And that you can find that on our homepage. And that's called Nerds in the Word. So with that being said, thank you for being here. Time to get back to our mountains. And Paul, you're up. We call this is Abraham Lincoln. We call him Link because that's cool. And you're up with number 2 on the mountain.
All right, so number 2. Okay, this is an older match. You know, the thing is, when I was growing up, my mom didn't like it that I was watching pro wrestling. So, you know, back then, you know, we didn't, you know, back then people didn't have a TV in every room. We pretty much just had one TV in the living room. So I would have to sneak in to watch pro wrestling when my mom wasn't looking. So the thing that pretty much kicked it off for me, as far as a wrestling fan, was a match, a steel cage match in 1982 in Madison Square Garden. The match was Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Bob Backlund. And, you know, I've never seen anything like that before when I was a kid, a cage match. And I wasn't really familiar with these wrestlers back then, but you know, during the match, the thing is, Jimmy Superfly Snuka is known for climbing on the top turnbuckle and diving on guys and kind of doing like a splash, right? That was his finisher. Well, in this particular match, he actually climbed up all the way to the very top of the cage. And it was like I was like, man, what is this guy gonna do? You know, he climbs up all the way on top of this the cage and he jumps off. You know, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to attempt to land on Bob Backlund and end the match. You know, but Bob Backlund, he actually rolls out of the way, and Superfly Snuka jumps up and he goes splat. You know, and Bob Backlund actually, with Jimmy Superfly Snuka passed out, Bob Backlund just rolls him up and pins him. But you know, to me, that match will always like live with me. You know what I mean? It's one of my favorite of all time. It's only number 2, but it's one of my fondest memories watching pro wrestling.
Yeah. This so this is before my time, but there's some iconic photos from the exact moment that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Madison Square Garden. Oh my gosh.
If you're a wrestling fan, you know that Snuka photo of him at the top. And here's the thing: Backlund had that title that they're fighting for like 4 years.
Yeah.
He jumps off the top, misses it. Backlund rolls him up. Now I talked about Backlund last week. Backlund to me is a very, I don't know, polarizing, weird type of wrestler. When you look at him, you're like, this guy was the champ for 4 years, like 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was, 7 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, this fella doesn't even look like he could fight out of a bar room. What is happening? And then, but he's a huge man.
He looks like Ron Howard on steroids. Like,
you know the thing with him, he's more of like a classic wrestler. Like he didn't have a lot of punching moves.
Technicality, and I like Dean Malenko. That's my guy. He's like him, you know.
Oh, there you go. Oh, see, dude.
He's all about the moves and
technical wrestling.
Kind of the judo side of wrestling, like the counters and all of the things that you're gonna get out. And Backlund was great, but this elevated Snuka to main event. This elevated Snuka. So Snuka at this time was Captain Lou Albano. He's the villain. But I remember as a kid, like in the late 80s, probably mid to late 80s. I don't remember exactly when. Snuka was a good guy. And Snuka was not well liked by a lot of the wrestlers.
You know what this meant, right? When he went like this, it meant I love you. It's like I love, and then it was you, and when he said that, that's when he started becoming a baby face.
Chicken wing.
Chicken wing was the finisher, see, Victor knows.
Yeah, Bob Backlund, man. Good match. Man, this is extremely. So once you said it, you're like 1982. I'm like, where you going? Where you going? And then you said steel cage. I was like, okay, I got about 3 or 4 early 80s in my head. Snuka. Oh, I know where you're at. Top rope. Here we go.
Yeah.
And well, now everybody does it, bro. Now everybody jumps from up there. But then nobody had done it. I mean, it was so iconic. What a great moment.
And, it doesn't look very high, but when you're on top of that cage, oh man, I can imagine the jitters.
I'm not afraid of heights. Like I can go up real high, but I'm not jumping from too high. I'm not jumping.
Exactly. Oh, what's up, Jay? How you doing, brother?
Jay in the house.
Yeah.
Jay, that's Vog's daddy.
Nice.
That's his internet daddy. So welcome, Jay. Specs. I want to say hello to Specs. Specs, just a shout out to you. Thank you for bringing your heart out in your video a couple days ago. I feel bad that anybody would ever be mean to you. You're such a fantastic person. We love you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And everybody else, obviously, welcome.
Especially if you want hot wings. That's what I'm talking about. Any person who's a fan of wings is a friend of mine.
R.I.P. Kevin Sullivan. Yeah. So I'll go with my link. I'm gonna go with my link, and it shouldn't be a surprise what my link and my George are. I mean, to be honest, I'm scrolling down just to get my notes because I know the match. Fantastic. So
I have a feeling that we're matching. We're crushing on our George, so I'm not changing mine. Just so you know.
Okay, so this one is 1987, March 29th, 1987, WrestleMania 3. It's not the final match, but it's considered one of the greatest matches of all time by many accounts. It's not the end, it's not the main event, but it's one of the most technical wrestling moments of all time. I'm going with my guy right here, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Macho Man, Savage for the Intercontinental title. Now listen, it is often regarded, I've got my notes here, this match is regarded as not only just one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history, but the greatest matches in all of wrestling, because there were 21 near pinfalls, 21 different times somebody kicked out. They talked about that the chemistry between Savage and Steamboat was perfect. Like
Yeah.
it was exceptional. They hit every spot. They were where they needed to be. They were what they needed to do. And the storytelling, as I've been saying, it's kind of a running theme, was almost flawless. In this, there was a feud between Ricky and Macho Man. It started in like '86. I'm looking at my notes here. It started on an episode of Superstars of Wrestling, and Savage brutally attacks Steamboat. Now, Steamboat gets his throat crushed. Now, that's a part of the storyline, but Steamboat actually had an injury that kind of helped them kind of lead and kind of make that look like it happened. And it was part of the storyline. And then, obviously, the buildup from Steamboat's absence and coming back and attacking him leads on to this intense moment of the championship. And it just time after time after time after time, you think it's going one way and it goes the other way. And if you haven't seen this match, it's older, WrestleMania 3, 87. You've got to watch it if you love wrestling. And then it's a great moment in history. So my link, Steamboat and Savage.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So I recently, and I know I'm way late on this because this has been out for a while, and Kirk, I messaged you. I have been eating up this Dark Side of the Ring documentary series. It has been, I can't stop watching it. And the first episode that they have is the Macho Man Randy Savage episode, which talks, this is a part of that too. Early on in the career, as far as, the WWF side of things. But this is a great match. We talk about Steamboat quite often, and you talk about him a lot. We talked about him last week, right? Because he's one of those rare wrestlers who has faced his whole career, never had the turn.
It doesn't happen too often. Usually, it goes back and forth to make it interesting.
Especially,
but Steamboat was one of those guys that, he was it.
Yeah. So this is a good one. This is early in that stuff, but I will say on that documentary, man, it's like it opens you up to so many things that you didn't even realize. I guess you got the news and things, but it's just crazy to see. He's crazy in his promos. He is crazy. He's just a crazy.
Well, here's the thing. I would kind of flipping the switch to Macho, and the match was both of them hitting the spots, but Macho is widely. It's set, and I might have said it in Dark Side of the Ring because that's one of the ones I watched too. He was never out of character.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan said so. At one time they lived down the beach from each other, not very far, a couple miles from each other. And Hogan talked about showing up at his house, and it's just him and Macho, and he's like, "Ooh, you want some coffee?" And he's like, "Bro, we're not fighting. Chill out." He came all off the deep end, right? And it led to him going crazy and getting in the car and all the stuff and the drugs and blah blah blah. I'll tell you this. I think it was probably 1998. Yes, thank you, Specs.
I just wanted to give a shout out, Specs. We really appreciate that so much. Thank you.
I think it was 1998 because I remember being in New Mexico. I was in the Air Force and I was stationed in New Mexico. I remember being at the certain little pub we used to go to, and I would get the wedge sandwich and have a few beers before I was sober. And I remember being there watching when it happened, when Madness showed up in WCW and he went bonkers and he was jacked. Here's one of the things. Macho never really got the credit, I guess he should, because he was tiny, but he fought over his size. When he was in WCW at the end and he was roided up, the dude was huge. When he was with Gorgeous George, bro, he was so big. He looked like a tank. And it was crazy. He was nuts. That guy was nuts. And Steamboat was such a good guy. We talked about it last week.
Well, my point I was going to get you is that I feel like Steamboat, unless you're a wrestling, an avid wrestling fan, you don't really ever hear about him and mention, unless you're wrestling, you hear about him, him, you respect it. But in the mainstream side of things, you really don't hear about it. And maybe it's because kind of when that attitude era.
You know what I like? Because, the thing, me being Asian, You know,
Yeah.
typically, if they had an Asian wrestler, they were a bad guy. But Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was he was a babyface, and it was kind of refreshing as an Asian guy to see a good guy, because they're usually like bad guys.
Because
So that was kind of cool to see.
Is whatever.
Hey, this will probably make you laugh, Paul. So I had practice today with my kids, and so with my son, and I knew I was going to be like right at time to get started with our show, and so I'm like, I messaged my wife and I said, hey, can you do me a favor? I need either the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat shirt or the Rushmore shirt. Can you just get it out for me so when I get back, I can put my shirt on?
Yeah.
She gets the shirt and she messaged me and she says, is it this one that looks like Cobra Kai? This one that looks like Cobra Kai, is it what you want? And I was like, oh my goodness, yes.
I thought that was Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat, man.
Yeah. I was like,
oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
That's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. She's like, oh, okay, you got it. I got it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with this as my number 2.
Good pick.
And it's going to be number 1 on a lot of people's list. So, Andy, who's your number 2?
All right. This is one of the most wild matches ever.
Yeah, do it. I think I know what it is.
It was actually 3 tag teams together. I'm going to WrestleMania 17. It's actually a rematch of the same 3, the same style of match that happened at SummerSlam right prior to that. They rematched for the tag team champions. I'm going the TLC, Tables, Ladders, Chairs match between the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian. This match, there are no more tables in that city. How many tables were broken through in this thing? It was wild. And then like the ladders, so many things happening. Right? Obviously, a TLC match. You got to climb to the top. You got to get the belts that are hanging up there. But there's all kinds of craziness that's happened. First of all, you throw in Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. The 3 of the most extreme, hardcore tag teams in history. Right? High flying. You see Jeff, who is one of my favorites of all time, swanton bombing off the top of a ladder, a guy through a table. I mean, literally putting his life on the line to perform these crazy things. The Dudley Boys doing their thing. They're just wild craziness and everything.
Crazy guys.
One of the craziest hits in this whole match to me. I don't even know how he didn't die in this moment. But Jeff is hanging on to the belt. He's not even on the ladder. He's just hanging on. And it was Edge, I think, climbs up. Edge climbs up and spears him off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what in the world? Like this is the craziest match, dude. So all that's happening. Then you have interference. So you've got Kirk's favorite, Lita, comes in and tries to interfere with this, obviously for the Hardys. But then you also have Rhino comes in, which eventually he's the one who lifts up Christian on his shoulders to get him up there to win the whole thing. Man, this match is just – it was this new, kind of phenomenon in WWE where it was like these extreme matches like this. You had the ECW influence that had crept in. Obviously, the Dudley Boys, coming over and things like that. But I think, which is crazy because, we always talk about Dudley Boys. We always talk about Hardy Boys, at least I do specifically. Edge and Christian win this thing, and they're often overlooked as far as I say often overlooked when you're throwing them in the same ring as these other tag teams that are up there. But Edge and Christian are 2 of the best to ever do it, right? And from a tag team standpoint, starting off with the Brood and that kind of stuff and Gangrel and all that, but then kind of branching off on their own and being this deal. This for the sheer fact that this was just a Spike Dudley comes in. I mean, there's so much interference that's happening in this.
Yeah.
Thrown out of the ring onto tables. You're like, do you guys know that you just got to go grab these belts? Like, they're not even paying attention to that in the beginning. They just want to beat each other up. It's just chaos the whole time. And this pick is sheerly because of all of that chaos, but also just to have those 3 tag teams in the ring at the same time is a special treat for anybody who's there, anybody who's watching it. Really best to ever do it.
So, Paul, how you feel about this?
I love it. I think it's a good pick. You know what I mean? And you know what the thing is too. I like the Dudley, the Dudley boys. Oh, they were awesome. The tables and everything, and that's 3 matches. That's just a lot to see. You know what I mean? And he was saying that they had a lot of high spots, and you just throw in the ladders on that.
Yeah,
Incredible,
So
incredible.
I'm gonna
Good
be
pick, Andy.
I'm gonna be honest. This is my number one Benjamin that I
Oh,
that I had a feeling wouldn't make it to the game because it's so good. It is so
Yeah.
good, and I
Yeah.
knew Andy was a Hardy guy, and that's Andy's favorite. Andy is a Hardy Boys guy. Jeff is his dude, and Matt he loves Matt, but Jeff's his guy. I'm more of the Lita. Yep. But here's the deal. I love this match because this was, to me, there's different eras of wrestling. This was probably the most fun, maybe not the golden era of tag teams, but the most fun era of tag teams. Man, I loved all of these tag teams back in the Headbangers and all these guys. Dude, there were so many fun tag teams in that couple years.
Was Demolition in that, or is that way before? That was
Demolition would have been a little earlier.
Yeah, that's a little earlier. Trying to
And
remember.
LOD, Legion of Doom, the Steiners, but this is great. Now, Andy, you opened up the door. Here's the thing. You said there was interference by Lita, love her. There was interference by Rhino, which he was just he's the one guy I don't know if he didn't have a neck. His chin started somewhere down
he
here.
was a rhino, a literal rhino.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Spike Dudley. You know who didn't show up, Andy?
Who?
Big Dick Dudley. I ended Big Dick Dudley's career. Big Dick Dudley's career. If you don't know, Big Dick Dudley is the other brother that never made it to WWE. I'm just kidding. I didn't end his career, but I did hit him. With a Sprite bottle, a Mountain Dew bottle, and I slung it into the ring, and it hit him square in the melon. In the Baton
This really
Rouge.
happened?
Yes,
Listen,
really happened.
What?
100%. Baton Rouge, Centraplex, the very first time ECW ever left Philadelphia. They went on tour.
What?
Showed up in Louisiana in so I started the military on June 9th. This is probably like June 3rd-ish. I don't remember exactly. June 3rd, 1998. It's in the Baton Rouge Centraplex. You can look it up. And the main event is the Dudley Boys. That's Big Dick Dudley, Devon, and Bubba Ray. And they're going against Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Spike. And the match before this is Al Snow. Everybody throwing the heads of the ring.
Yeah.
So when these guys come out, everybody's booing them and starts throwing stuff at them. Well, that wasn't supposed to be the cue, but everybody did it anyway. I missed him with the first bottle. The lady behind me taps me on the shoulder. Hey, sir, you're the closest. Well, I wasn't a sir then. I was like 19. I was, full of vinegar. And I stand up on my chair thinking I'm something. And I looked him right in the eye. Whoa! That thing had a little bit of Mountain Dew in it. So it was.
Oh.
There's
and
a
he
video.
went,
There's a video.
He pointed right at me. Bubba Ray and Devon are about to kill me. Now, not just them. Everybody is laughing. And the Dudleys are about to kill me. And the security kicks me out.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Keep going on the story you can watch last week or the other time. But I almost get in a fight with a guy named John Cronus. John Cronus was the tag team partner in ECW with Saturn. I almost fought him outside the ring. I was so messed up. About to go in the military, thinking I was something. But yeah, Big Dick Dudley never made it to WWE because I hit him with a Sprite bottle or a Mountain Dew bottle in the face. So I ruined the match, man.
He wrote about it. He wrote about it in his memoirs. He remembers.
He sure did. He was in the dark side of wrestling.
There is a video, and we can't post it because every time we post anything wrestling, it gets taken down.
I posted the video on our our very first wrestling Rushmore was tag teams. Dudley Boys gets mentioned by both of us. We crush. And I play the video. I went and found it. I downloaded it for like $10.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be looking for it.
I downloaded it for like $10 off some weird
I can
site.
send it to you, I'm sure.
And,
Okay, cool. I
you
want to
can't-
see that.
listen,
That's
you see
amazing.
listen, I'm gonna be honest. You see everybody throwing stuff in. You don't see me, but all of a sudden the action stops, and you see them yelling at somebody. That's me.
That's you.
Yes,
Oh,
100%. And they're
man.
like, and I was like
Oh,
third, fourth row, and I'm out of there.
yeah, you're close.
Oh, bro, I was so mad. And look, the next week,
Imagine how great that match that I'm talking about would have been had you not thrown that ball.
Big Dick Dudley would have changed it. I mean, it's butterfly effect. Butterfly effect.
Dudleys win that?
Yeah.
They retain their tag team title?
Now, with that being said,
Wow.
Big Dick Dudley, hold on, let me look this dude up. Big Dick Dudley is huge.
He would have been like the biggest wrestling star ever.
He becomes the
Big Dick Dudley
wow.
actually died in 2002
Oh, well, that's
at
horrible.
34. That sucks. He
Ooh,
was
that's young.
Listen, this man was 6'7", 320.
kill.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
What? Yeah. Anyways,
Wow.
all right, we're to the George. Great pick. That would have been my first Benny out the gate. So, Paul, you're up. Who's your George?
Okay,
That used
so
to be a segment on this show, by the way. Who's your George?
so the thing with wrestling, it's a dance. You know what I mean? And when it's a one-on-one, it's two people dancing. And the thing with like matches, like Andy, you were the one who talked about was it your pick or was it Kirk? No, Kirk. You're the one who mentioned on number 2 was Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon. Okay, that was like a 60-minute plus match.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
I forgot to mention that. It's like an hour match.
Yeah, it's like an hour match, and and the thing is that match was clean. And that there's like it's like magic when two guys know how to work. Work with each other and to create a great match. And make it memorable. On top of that, so my number one, and it was really hard to pick a number one because there's so many great matches out there, but one that sticks in my mind, and when I think of like all-time greats for myself, would have to be 1990 Baltimore Arena, Baltimore, Maryland, Sting versus Ric Flair at the Great American Bash. So the thing right there is like, as far as like wrestlers, Ric Flair was a total package. He's my all-time favorite wrestler.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, he could do everything. He could talk, he could wrestle, and he pretty much he lived that character, to his detriment. I think he was married like 3 or 4 times. But when he talked the talk about riding in limousines, flying in a jet plane, wearing a Rolex, wearing gator shoes, he lived that character. Kind of like when you guys were talking about how Macho Man was always Macho Man, Ric Flair was always Ric Flair, especially in his early years. So that Great American Bash, that was when Sting was in his prime. That's when Ric Flair still had it in him, and it was kind of cut down the middle. You either liked Ric Flair or you liked Sting. It was kind of like there's no middle ground. So it was a very as far as the fan base, it was like cut in half. But just the hype. Back then they didn't have like what the media, they didn't have it like what they had today, but still the build for that was crazy. And I remember watching that match, and you either like back then, there was WWF and WCW. The thing with WCW, I enjoyed back then WCW better because I just thought it was more realistic. I at the time I thought WWF was like a cartoon, so I liked the WCW because it was a little bit more gritty. The characters or the wrestlers were a little bit more believable. For me, Ric Flair was just the top. He was my favorite wrestler then, and he's still my favorite wrestler now. So that's my pick for number one. And by the way, Sting and Ric Flair, I mean, they've had a lot of great matches together. Like, for example, I don't know if I could say this because I don't think it'll be on anyone's list, but when Hulk Hogan fought Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, that was not the first time they wrestled. They probably wrestled 12, 13 times before that, but it was WrestleMania 3. So, that's, WrestleMania is like the top pay-per-view of the year. Yeah, as far as my number one pick, it's Sting versus Ric Flair in 1990 at the Great American Bash.
I love that. So look, here's the thing. I did the the research, and originally I was trying to do top wrestling match. I was trying to throw in some more WCW.
Yeah.
Every time, every website that I look at, top wrestling matches in WCW history, there's either Ric Flair or Sting, are on every one of them. I mean, it's every single one involves one of those two guys. Maybe a few here and there not. They were some of the, again, late 80s, early 90s goats when it comes to those things. This was Sting with the bleach blonde, everything.
Oh, yeah.
I love his face paint in the Great American Bash, the American flag, Sting and stuff.
What Victor just said.
Yeah.
So, I love it. And there it is.
Oh, yeah.
So, Ric Flair. This is his book, and just
awesome.
2022, Peacock has it right now. I think it was on Netflix for a little bit. Woo! Becoming Ric Flair, great documentary. It talks about him in college, kind of being a dropout, chasing, like being a drunk and kind of doing frat parties and stuff like that, and kind of leading him to become what he was. I remember, this is funny. You mentioned he's still living that life. Wife swap. He wife swapped with Rowdy Roddy Piper, right? And Piper's wife was like, bro, that guy is nuts. Like, he is literally, he's still doing that. Like he wanted to go out every single night on the 3 days that she was there and like live like and just be out there like constantly getting applause and praise. I'm not a Flair guy. I appreciate Flair. Flair is, I had him in my heels list because for most of his career it was heel. But
oh yeah, most definitely.
He lived that thing. But he's iconic in the sense of wrestling. But Sting is absolutely my guy. And he's on probably my GOAT mountain, along with Taker, we already mentioned. And that's the match we all wanted, right? That's all match. And we didn't get it.
Yeah.
If we got that match, we'd have got that match, might have superseded as Sting's best match. But this is on my it's on my Benjamins as Sting's best match. 100% is a match with Sting and Flair. And I have it down as, I have it at about 8.
I feel like if we were to do the Rushmore of what could have been with wrestlers would be really fun.
You guys should do that show.
But just to give you a little preview, a Sting versus Taker match. We've talked about it. It's what everyone in the world wanted. And
everybody, I can remember 1990 something, right? Like the Goldbergs do. It's 1990 something. We all wanted Sting and Undertaker, and we all wanted Goldberg and Stone Cold. That's it. That's all we wanted, and it kept not happening. Everybody got mad. And then finally they had the chance. Stone Cold gets hurt. Sting gets jobbed out. Basically jobbed out. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. My George.
Yes.
Man, I am surprised. We went through a whole list with you, Paul, and you did not mention this match. But I'm going with the dude, right? We've already talked about one of the guys. Let's talk about the other guy. Here he is.
I have it written down.
Mankind, Undertaker, Hell in the Cell.
Hell in the Cell.
I'm going Undertaker and Stone Cold, Hell in the Cell match. Now the key moment of this. Oh, by the way, just for you, Paul, let me show you. Look, there it is, right there. Bango. And there's
that's what's up.
Yeah. So that's Mick. But the key moment of this match, first off, First off, shout out to Mick Foley. Mick Foley looks like the only job he could have ever got was a fry cook at Sonic. Like, he does not look like the dude. When you see him back when he was younger and less hairy, and I'm down with that, obviously, but he looked a bit more fit, and then he gets this kind of overweight. He wears like sweatpants that probably have holsters on it to go around his heels, like my mom used to wear back in the 80s. He's wearing these weird pants. He goes Cactus Jack. He goes Dude Love. But he goes in this Mankind mode. Now, Mankind was kind of weird. It was kind of out there. Is it Undertaker? Is he's demented? Is he whatever? And he goes off on this rail, and we get literally the match we wanted with Sting, basically. Undertaker, Mankind. Now, here's the cool thing. It's mentioned in this book. It's mentioned in this book actually a couple times. And they talk about the match. And he gets thrown off the top of the steel cage with reckless abandon. Lands. I mean, it's crazy. Through the cage. Like, so much is happening. Like, this guy is getting destroyed. Here's what happens to Mankind. These are all his injuries. Right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this isn't even the end. This is when he wrote the book. He still kept wrestling. This is the greatest match of all time. 1998. And it began in 96 with the Boiler Room Brawl, Buried Alive match. But in 1998, it culminates with the Hell in a Cell match at King of the Ring. And it goes down as one of the most iconic things we've ever seen. Mankind also talks about completely losing consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's moments where Undertaker is talking to him and asking him, "Are you alive? Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And he is unconscious. He's like, "Finish the match. Finish this. Let's do it." I mean, the guy's nuts. And it's just, when it comes to wrestling, if you aren't a wrestling fan and you see this, you're like, wow, that's kind of crazy. If you are a wrestling fan, you're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. You just did something, like, you took us to another level. You went in another place, and it's in everybody's memory bank for history. And it's got to be my George. Actually, it was the only one on my mountain for a while. When you mentioned it, I was like, okay, Hell in a Cell, where else are going? And then Steamboat, when I put my shirt on, I was like, oh, absolutely, Steamboat Mach. And then the other two kind of fell into place while I was researching. But this was number one by far. So Mick Foley he doesn't make my mountain of goats, but he is sure on my
that match? Yeah.
He's sure on in my top 7 or 8. And just by sheer storytelling.
You know, the reason why I didn't pick that as number one, because I thought one of you guys would. You know, the thing is, there's some, YouTubers that have wrestling channels. And if you look on their wall, they have a picture of that match. The thing is, I have to be honest, Mankind was never one of my favorite wrestlers, but that match, you can't deny that match. That cage was higher than a lot of cages that I've seen, and he dove off of that. I'm like, what?
This is the Mankind that I love, when it's just Mick. When Mick talks about how he did these 3, Mick did something that is absolutely outside of wrestling. Mick had multiple gimmicks at the same time. Now, and people were like, oh, this is fake. And he bit into it. And he said, you know what? Let's do this. And Mick goes on to be one of the greatest storytellers. The Rock and Sock Connection. The
Dude Love.
Terry Funk with Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. The mix of Dude Love, right? And all of that. He is just the storyteller. And then he wrestled as Mick Foley. Like, he is Mr. Backyard Wrestling, Mr. Hardcore, Mr. Crazy. And
you can't deny it. You can't deny it. Yeah, you can't deny that. You can't deny the talent.
There's only 2 people in the world that became famous and should have been a shopping cart buggy salesman, and that's Kurt Warner and Mick Foley. So there you go. Like, it's amazing. Now, that's going to be my George. Andy, what you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about this. Just like you, when we said top wrestling matches, I said, okay, there's Hell in a Cell with Taker and Mankind, and then let me figure the rest out. I mean, there was no thought that had to go into that. This is, when I think wrestling, the image of him being thrown off is what I see.
Yeah.
So this is the best match for everything that we mentioned before. The obvious, right? The fact that he gets thrown off. We've never seen that kind of thing happen before. You know, when you were talking about Jimmy Snuka, right? Like jumping off that cage, I'm like, yeah, I'll one up you. A guy being thrown off into a table, right? Like, so I recently watched, we talked about 6 Feet Under, right? With Mark Calloway and his podcast. And I don't know if this was on his podcast, but there was a video that had him and Mick Foley. They got together just to kind of like react to this match, right? And kind of give you some commentary and things on it. And it was really cool. I mean, the thought that went into it, and he kept saying that he's like, Mankind, just like Mick kept saying, you know, basically saying, let's keep going, let's keep pushing it, let's keep whatever. And he's like, dude, are you for real? Like Taker was like, are you kidding me? Like, we can end this now. But what's crazy to me is that what we think of as the culmination of this, I mean, that throw off the top of the cell was like 2 minutes into this match. And a minute and a half of it was them climbing up. I mean, so like it was so early on, and there's still a ton of match that happens after that. It's not over at that point.
Yeah.
Up, and then they get back on top, and he choke slams him through. So literally, he not only fell off and broke the table, got back up, came back in, climbed back to all that stuff. Then the thumbtacks that he pulls out, and he gets choke slammed onto the thumbtacks. He gets his tooth knocked through his nose at one point. Terry Funk comes in to check if he's alive, and Taker choke slams him. Like, this is just, listen, the last match that I said, the TLC match, was a one of those, somebody said in the comments, like a car wreck, a train wreck of a match. This was even more. This was a train wreck in the middle of a tornado during an earthquake at the apocalypse. Like,
I love that.
Just
love that.
Crazy. and listening back, if you haven't had a chance to go watch the video of Taker and Mick kind of recounting this and talking back through this, it's crazy. And then the other thing was that when he said, I think Mick says he climbs up, you know, because he comes out first and he climbs up. And then he's like, well, I've already committed to this. I can't climb back down now, because if you climb back down now, you're just in front of all these people. You look like a wuss. And I think Taker had like recently had a knee injury or like a broken foot or something even too. He fought through that during this match. So there's so many backstory things to it. When I talk about my criteria and how like the backstory and the buildup, there wasn't like a tremendous, this isn't the match that I think of like there was a lifelong feud between Mick and Taker, right? Like this wasn't one of those types of matches. But it is the most iconic match. If anybody is an Attitude Era fan, you're never going to escape talking about this match. And then also, you know, you add in the added bonus of having JR on commentary. By God, he's dead. As God is my witness, he's broken in half. Like it's a great match.
So you talk about sounds. Sounds. One of the most eerie sounds was Taker and Mick walking on top of the hell.
Dude,
in the
it's
cell,
held together by like
and hearing the straps pop.
Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew. Like you hear it, and you're like,
where you think they're gonna fall through. Like,
oh yeah.
And
Taker talks about it in his podcast. He's like, bro, those things were given out, and like, because you got to imagine Taker's, you know, 3+,
320,
and Mankind's probably 250+, and so you got close to 500, 600, 700 pounds watching around on these little metal things holding a fence together. Yeah, it was crazy. Good match.
You know, the thing is
different. The pins normally are like this time they were like plastic pins or something ridiculous, and it's normally like a metal pin. So this thing wasn't even. And then, let me just say this too, and then Paul, there's a spot where after he gets thrown off, they're lifting the cage while Taker's still on it.
Yeah,
they're lifting because they're like they got to clear the area, they got to get like the ambulance or whatever through the cart through, and he's on it, getting lifted up. That's just, and then they put it back there. It's so crazy, dude. It's such a crazy match. Paul, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I wanted you to finish, but think about the margin of error that he had when he got thrown off the cage and he had to land on this table. I mean, if he went a foot this way or a foot that way, he could have actually died.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and like you said, Andy, that was just like the first few minutes of the match. Now, after that, they still wrestled a stellar match. So I knew one of you guys were going to pick that. That's why I didn't even have it on my list. I didn't know I was going to go first.
So what that means to me, Paul, is you in the beginning you said I had to change my list early on, and also you thought ahead and said, "Oh, this one's probably on the mountain, and it's going to get talked about. I got to get something else." It sounds like you're a crafty veteran of the Rushmore
veteran
show.
move right there.
Veteran moves. So
you flatter me.
Veteran moves. All right, look, here is our mountain. Great mountains. We had 2 Crushmores, obviously, and now we can't have any more Crushmores. It is time for our second part. It's time to finish off this show how we always do it with some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions, we call them the Benjamins. Let's get it. As you saw on the little clip there, who missed the mountain? Who missed all of our mountains? Today it's matches, and we're going to mention matches that haven't been mentioned already. If it's your first time hanging around, hang around just a little longer. We're each going to give you 4 more matches, but we cannot mention anything that's already been mentioned. And as people mention them, they're off the board. It's like fantasy match draft. And Paul, you received first pick of the draft, and you also get Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy at the back end of the draft. And Andy gets 2 back-to-back picks, and I'm the middleman. So go first and let us know one more match. And look, let me just also remind you, Paul, this is the last part of the segment. We don't really talk a whole bunch about it. We're just like, hey, this is what happened. This is what went down. It was really awesome. Go check it out. So what's the first match that you think needs to be mentioned today?
So, the thing is that Roman Reigns, when he was the champ, he had a long reign. And, I wanted him to lose so bad for like so many matches. But SummerSlam 22, July 22nd at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar went in with a tractor in that match, and then during that match, he actually lifts the ring, and the ring's kind of like. And I felt bad for the people on the other side of the ring because they couldn't see because the ring was lifted up, so you could only see it from one side, unless I guess you look at the monitors. But that was a great match. There was a lot of interference. From the bloodline, Jey Uso and his brother, but it ended up being a great match, and it made my top 10 because I just watched it recently and I was thoroughly entertained. But Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, those guys, when they both of them in the ring, it's magic. So that was my pick.
Great match, both really big stars currently.
Yeah.
I know Brock's going through his deal with all the stuff. Hopefully he comes back, whatever. And Roman had a great run, and I'm sure he's going to have another. So great pick. All of that.
Thank you.
Here's my first pick. This is the last WrestleMania I saw before going to the military. I joined the military in June of 98. This is March 98.
Nice.
The main event, Stone Cold, Rock, Mike Tyson, special enforcer as the referee, and this is the height of this is the height of wrestling, dude. For me, 1996, 97, 98, watching The Rock and Stone Cold go at it, and Mike Tyson's supposed to be the bad guy, and he's not. What? Oh my goodness. It was what happened? So March 29, 1998, boom. Get the punt, the pow. And oh man, gotta have it. Gotta have it.
That was good.
One of the
Good
greatest
pick.
feuds of all time, of two of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right. Well, I'm surprised it took us this long to mention this guy. I'm going to the 619. Ball. Here we go.
Booyaka, booyaka.
I'm going Halloween Havoc, WCW 1998. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio in a title versus the Mask match. Now, here's the deal.
I remember that one.
There was a wager that if Rey wins, he gets the belt. If Eddie won, he would get to take off Rey's mask, which, if you know anything luchador wrestling, that's a time-honored tradition that we don't do that. Rey Mysterio wins this thing in his cool purple suit. It's a weird, different suit that he normally doesn't wear, but I will say this: just those two wrestlers, two of the greatest to ever do it. Rey's still doing this. Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace. But I talked about him last week. I love Eddie Guerrero, so that's a great. Yeah. So I'm doing that one. And then my next one, and it's really not even that I care about the match, but if I'm going to talk about one of the most iconic moments in wrestling history, 2008 WrestleMania 24, I'm going Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. I'm sorry. I love you, man.
Sorry, I love you.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't cry during that. Like, there's the there's the when little boys cry.
Yeah, if you didn't cry, you didn't have a heart, because that was, ooh, man.
Like, as soon as he pinned him, he hugs him and he just leaves. He didn't want anything to do with, like, yeah, it's one of those moments too. And then we talked about Ric Flair, the king of the oversell. He gets the sweet chin music and he's just bring it on, and it's just that super iconic moment. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
So Jay, just to say this real quick, I saw that Rey's mask almost did get ripped off. He does at a point where that happens, but he did not officially get it taken off during that one.
All right.
Very
So
nice.
Back to you, Kurt.
you mentioned that one of these guys. I've already mentioned the other guy. I'm going with 619 again. Now here it is. Rey Mysterio, his very first big pay-per-view match of all time. And did you know who it was against? You're right. It was against Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds, for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship at
awesome.
Great American Bash in 1996. And listen, this match showed why Dean Malenko is so good. He is one of the best tacticians ever, training people. And then it brought the flair of Rey Mysterio, and both of them are it's chef's kiss. This match, back and forth, watching the high flyer and the technical guy in the cruiserweight division. WCW was the cruiserweight, was all about cruiserweight, and these two were the top. I love it. That's my go.
Nice. All right. So, Paul, you get two back-to-back picks here, man.
All right. Okay, so another SummerSlam, 2013 Staples Center, LA, California. CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
So this is the thing what I like. I mean, you guys mentioned it before. The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, a big guy versus a little guy. You would think that it would be lopsided, and but the thing is, they had good chemistry. I mean, CM Punk, he used to do those knees a lot. I mean, today he's still wrestling, but not so much. He was a little bit more mobile back then, and he did a lot of the knees. And man, that was a very entertaining match. That's one that stuck in my head. And I love both those guys, and they had a stellar match. So that definitely made it on my list. And then for one more.
Oops.
What'd you do?
What happened?
Oh no, he just moved the camera. All right, you got another pick here.
Okay, so another pick. Okay, so This was a Dynamite match. It wasn't a pay-per-view. It was just a regular Dynamite. It was Cody Rhodes versus Wardlow, and this was also a steel cage match. It was at February of 2020 at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, and during the match, Cody Rhodes he climbed up on the top of the cage and he did a backflip. And the good thing is that for that to work, Wardlow had to catch him. So Cody goes up on the top, and he's not known as a high flyer. I mean, he does that suicide kick, but I mean, he's on top of the cage, and he pretty much has faith in Wardlow in catching him. So he does his backflip, catches on Wardlow. Wardlow goes down, and then Cody pins him. And I thought that was awesome for just a Dynamite. You didn't have to pay for it, just on regular TV. I think that was an amazing match to see.
Nice.
So that was my second.
All right, Kirk, we're back to you, man.
Andy, I had to do it. I had to do it.
Yeah, you had to. I know. I was waiting for it.
So Andre?
I'm going with Logan versus Andre the Giant.
It's
The match. Listen, you don't have to like either one of them. It's okay. Hulk Hogan is not on my mountain. Andre's not on my mountain, but they're on many people's mountain because they are two of the mega stars that changed wrestling forever. And I'm going to tell you, the body slam in WrestleMania 3 that everybody wanted. This is two matches from WrestleMania 3, one of the best WrestleManias ever. Here it is. Hogan takes this guy, billed at like 90,000 pounds. I think it was like 600 pounds. And he picks him up. Boom. And here's the thing. It was Heenan was all up in his ear. And this is the mantle being handed off to Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan, as much as I'm not a fan of him anymore, as a kid, I loved him. As an older person and knowing who he is, kind of seeing his story, I cringe sometimes. But this was the torch handing. So I had to have this one on the mountain.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, going. All right, so where do I want to go with this one? I got a couple more that I can put on this one.
Hoping you pick one of my two matches because I have two left I want to talk about.
Bash at the Beach, 1990 something. I don't have my facts right here. This is a graveyard match. And the only reason I'm putting this one on there is for obvious reasons, because they're right here behind me. I'm going the Demon versus Vampiro. I had to put the Demon on there. Listen. I understand.
Nice.
I watched the whole like hour-long video today about the failure that was Eric Bischoff and that whole thing with not necessarily, but during this end of his run at WCW and kind of the whole Kiss marketing side of things, and they were kind of contractually obligated to put him in X amount of matches, and they had to have this character, and they just screwed it over, and he lost almost every match he was a part of. But I had to throw it on there because as a kid, this happens in like 1999 or something like that, 98, 99. I'm 9-10 years old at this point, and this is my time when I'm starting to love Kiss, and then I love wrestling, and then I see that there's a Kiss wrestler. Dude, it's like the coolest thing ever. I understand looking back at it now. Like, again, I'm looking at this through a 10-year-old's eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Back then, I'm like, this sucked. This is horrible.
So I'm going to share this. Back in 1998 or whatever, 97, my two favorite wrestlers of all time at that point were Dean Malenko and Vampiro. And I went dressed to a college frat party as Vampiro with leather pants and a fake in a fake set of dreads with my face painted and everything. And I had his shirt. I had his shirt back in the day, and I loved it. The whole ICP thing. I love Vampiro. But just a little tidbit. Vampiro came from Mexico, and then after he left and got screwed in WCW and ended up getting hurt. He then went back to Mexico, and then he did the MTV thing, and then he almost killed a guy, like literally in Mexico. Was hated for a long time. Vampiro is when you talk about technical wrestling, Vampiro was the dude, man. This is a great match. I applaud.
No, it's a horrible match, and that's the thing. So
it was a great storytelling match at that time. This is what made wrestling.
Tagline here. This is widely considered one of the worst matches in WCW history.
But memorable.
But this tagline here that I'm looking up, this thing says, "So bad you'll wish you were dead." It's just not looked at.
Wow.
But again, as a 10-year-old, I got to see this wrestler, and
I wish they would have kept the Kiss Demon as MVP.
He was MVP prior to that. In fact,
was the baseball player.
Yeah, with almost Kiss face paint at the same time, like almost.
He looked like the guy from Warriors.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my, and then my last pick, and just because of what this meant for wrestling. And I mentioned I've been on the Dark Side of the Ring kick lately, and there's a whole episode about this.
Do it.
I'm going with, and you briefly brought it up, Kirk. I'm going with the Montreal Screwjob. I'm doing it, and not because obviously, you get the backstory and how Brett was kind of getting screwed there at the end of his run with, all the beef between him and Sean and him and Vince and all that stuff. But
then Brett goes to WCW and gets killed by Goldberg and never.
Yeah, and then he quits on WCW. Yeah, I mean, there's just that all happens. But the thing is that this was that kind of one of those first moments where we got to see this unscripted moment happen. Like we got to see real human, not that we haven't seen real human emotion up to this point. Absolutely we have. But this is like, most of the time it was like, hey, this was planned that this guy was going to win. This guy was going to lose. This was one of those moments where it was just like, nobody really knew what was happening there. And then just all the backlash that happened from that. One of the things that's very interesting about this match, and I know this is Benjamin's and I don't want to belabor it, but many people view this as conspiracy theory, like everyone was in on this, right? And there are people who say that this was that turn now where Vince McMahon went from being a commentator and kind of like a liked guy
into a villain. The
villain at this point, which then propelled this the WWE eventually forward into what we know now. Who knows? Who knows really at the end of the day? There's stories on both sides of this was scripted, this was unscripted, this was a double cross, whatever, that kind of deal. So it's just interesting, and I think what it means for wrestling, it has to be mentioned today on this list.
All right, Andy, you disappointed me. Now, I love that match. I was just hoping you would say one of these, and I'm pretty sure Paul's not going to mention the other one. So if you know me, I love Dean Malenko, and Dean Malenko came over to WWF with the Radicals. And when he came with the Radicals, he came with Perry Saturn and two other guys. And both of these guys died a tragic death, different ways, and very much too soon. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not going to say both of them, but both of them's championship match is what I wanted to mention. Now, here it goes. I'm going to pull for the one that nobody wants to talk about. And I'm going with Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 20. This is 2004. This is before he loses his mind and kills his family, literally. But this guy, Chris Benoit, when I was a kid, and I'm watching Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn and Latino Heat and Rey Mysterio, and I'm wrestling on the wrestling ring, when I looked at Chris Benoit, the Wolverine, the Rapid Wolverine, when I watched this guy wrestle, it was the most amazing thing I ever seen. Like, this guy made wrestling not only look real, dangerous, like he was vicious, them chops, and then the tragedy. I have a DVD. It's not here. It's downstairs, signed by Chris Benoit. And unfortunately, when all that went down, everything got blacklisted. They kicked him out. They don't talk about him. And he doesn't live far, or his house isn't far from my house.
Yeah.
It's not far at all. It's about an hour away, not even an hour away from me. I've drove by it and where all that went down. And it's crazy. But this match was for the heavyweight championship.
Tragic. Very tragic.
Dude, there's nothing crazy. When Cody won the championship, right? There's nothing like seeing someone battle their whole life to get to this point and finally win it, and seeing the confetti drop and the tears and all of the stuff that went to, dude, chills. And I could have picked the other guy, but yeah, I'm going with Benoit because he's rarely mentioned and he's amazing. He's from Maryland.
Yeah,
And you already mentioned him.
I watched the 2-part Dark Side of the Ring with his story today too, and I was, I'm like,
I remember where I was at when I heard about it. When I heard about the stuff, like I remember exactly where it was at.
Not fun story, but side note, we had Invoke the Nightmare on here, but I had a good friend of mine's band that we used to play shows with all the time. They not long after that wrote a song called The Crippler, and it's about that whole situation and how messed up it is. Basically, taking it out on Chris in their lyrics, and yeah, it's a crazy situation. It was one of those, like, I was at my house alone today watching it, and I kind of was like spooked a little bit because it's such a good documentary.
I'm not really a fan of Chris Benoit anymore because of what he did.
Yeah,
but it has no interrelation to me. I forgive him, but I don't have any ties. I mean, there's many people in the wrestling world that will never forgive him. That's okay. But this is just like football going on right now. He had CTE syndrome and other things mixed with the cocktail of steroids and all the drugs. And that's just how it happens.
That's the band. Dennis came in clutch here. That's the band. Yep.
Dennis been lurking in the background.
That's the band name?
Dennis.
Well, that's the band name of the group that did the Crippler.
Dennis, while I have you on here,
wow,
we need to get the band back together. I need to have you guys back on. We've been going with all these crazy YouTubers like Paul. We got to get the OGs rolling through here again. Dennis, I need you on a show soon. So, Dennis is one of the first guests. He's like number 3, I think.
Very nice.
Finish off this mountain and let's go home, Paul.
All right. So
one on your list?
I am gonna go with, okay. The thing is that I've bounced, like, the thing is I there's times where I love WWF, then I went to WCW, and then I went back to WWE. And then AEW started up. I'm on a WWE kick. Right now they can't do any wrong, but at the time when AEW started, they had a pay-per-view All Out in Las Vegas, and the main event was Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, and that match,
Mr. Omega,
yeah. So that match, whoever won that was going to have a title match against Hangman Page, and so they're going at it, right? And then Chris Jericho hits his what's the one where he spins the elbow? What's that? His finisher? I forgot what it's called. Well, anyways,
I don't remember.
He lays this
Tamer, the Lion Salt, the
Codebreaker, not the Codebreaker, but when AEW, he did a spinning elbow, and they called it something. Someone in the chat would probably know.
Judas Effect?
What's that?
Judas Effect?
Judas Effect, yes.
Yeah.
He lands this elbow on Kenny Omega's chin, knocks him out, pins him, wins the match, and he goes to the crowd and he starts saying, I'm this, I'm that. And in the background, you can hear all this cheering. And they're cheering because Jon Moxley shows up on the scene. And so, so Jon Moxley comes down from the stairs. Everyone's going nuts. And Chris Jericho's thinking, oh, they're going nuts because, I won this match. I'm the best. I'm this and that. So Jon Moxley rolls into the ring. And Chris Jericho turns around and he's all, what are you doing here? And everyone's going nuts, and Jon Moxley kicks him in the stomach and does his finisher, and then the referee comes in and tells Jon Moxley stop, kicks him in the stomach, does the finisher, and then Kenny Omega he just wakes up from just getting an elbow in the face, and he looks up and he's looking at Jon Moxley, and they start going at it, and it is just a wild thing, and it's that was like the height of AEW. Fortunately, I don't think they've come out with anything that good since that pay-per-view. But no, that was just so much fun, and so that actually made my list because when I think of like surprises and that thing had everything. So
I'll just add this.
Yes.
I'm not a Kenny Omega hater, but
Okay.
I haven't had the introduction to him as a lot of the people that watch in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But Dylan loves him, so mentions him a lot. So I'm glad you mentioned Omega. But
Yeah.
Chris Jericho is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Oh yeah.
And if we talked about people in the mic, there you go. If you talk about guys coming from nothing, I mean, went from cruiserweight, whatever, that I have Chris Jericho on my list in my thing 3 times, and I didn't mention a single one of them. 3 different matches. So I'm glad you mentioned this because Jericho, Y2J, bro, dude, loved that whole thing with the
He
Rock.
is the master of reinvention. He's reinvented himself so many times, and it's funny how it just hits.
Yeah. When
Yeah,
he
no,
sung his song,
he's an
and I
entertainer.
found out that he sung his song, I was like, "Oh, you can do that? Oh, you didn't know?" Yeah, he sings his own thing. Right? Anyway, man, great
was sexy.
show. First off,
Oh my gosh,
I
so much fun.
apologize. This chat is rolling. Barry, I want to call you out. Barry, thank you for making Andy eat vanilla wafers and mayonnaise.
Oh.
That was a fantastic episode. Everybody, go watch it. It's like a minute and a half long. Go watch it. Go watch it 10 times. It's hilarious.
And try it, and then video respond to it. Let us know how you.
Yeah, Barry responded to it and said you did too much mayonnaise.
And I was supposed to make this. You didn't give me those instructions.
Yeah.
Deal.
So Barry, that was hilarious. Also, Victor Negron, welcome to the Summit Squad. This is our show. Real quick before we head out to all the new people, we got 14 of you. Here it is. This is a perfect time for me to tell you about our show. We do 6 things. 6. We do. Right now, we're in nostalgia. After nostalgia, we move to sports. After sports, we move to food. After food, back to video games to start the year off. Then to music, movies, and TV. Swing it back around to nostalgia. That's our 6 things we do. We do each one for 2 months. We're already booking right now for sports. Sports is coming up. I have a guy who is a Houston. I actually worked with him back in the day. He's a Houston sports commentator in the news. He's coming on. We have another guy who, we have Zach's comic collector and our card collector guy. We have Zach coming on. We've got a few other guys coming on.
That's a good guy.
In our sports time. Vogs is supposed to come on. We'll nail that out if he can get off at Lowe's. We'll nail out all my guys in sports. If you want to be on sports, this is the way to do it. Right on below, it says follow. Obviously, YouTube's first. At the Instagram or the Facebook one, go over there and follow us and hit us in the chat. Talk to us and say, hey, I would love to be on the show. We want you on the show. We want your show on the show. We want to highlight your show.
Hey, can I say this too? Can I say this real quick? We got some ladies in the chat. We typically don't have ladies join us as now we've had our wives on before.
We've had our wives.
We've had
Dallas's wife, Celeste.
Yeah.
We had Tracy.
And we had Alexis.
We've had
so
Tracy.
Rare, but I mean, if there's listen, we're not hating there too. So we would love to have you on too. Absolutely.
Hold on. I moved something.
Kirk turned into just a picture that's pulsing. Okay. No, I don't know what's happening here.
And I'm back from out of space.
Barry says he doesn't have MySpace. Well, nobody has MySpace anymore, I don't think.
Well,
MySpace.
Me on MySpace.
If you don't have MySpace, then if you can hit us up on LiveJournal, then please do.
AOL Instant Messenger. Hit us up on
awesome.
AOL. Hey, couple things. If you want to be on the show, you're welcome. Barry, we want you on the show. Who else in this chat? Victor, you're welcome to be on the show. We just met, but man, we're welcome. DJ's been on the show. Mr. Zani, If you want to come out from behind your cats, we'd love to have you on the show. If just going through the list of people, Dennis, you want you back. 15 people in chat. Come talk with us. You guys pick the topic. So this topic was picked by Paul. You pick the topic as long as it's within the parameters and we haven't done it before. And then we'll chat about it. We'll figure it out. With that being said, we have a couple shows coming up. We have to move a few shows because we have one on a Monday. We have one on we have Bayou Geek Collectibles coming on. And Andy's got an event coming up. So Bayou Geek, if you see this before we actually talk, hopefully we can move that up to Thursday. We'll figure that out. But we got some great folks coming. And with that being said, I do want to talk about my friend that's on here today. Paul, this is your chance. But before you do, one of the first times I visited Paul, I think it might have been even the first time, might have been second time. I go on the show and he says, hey, drop this little whatever in the thing and you can win a prize. The thing spins the wheel, blah, 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 blah. It spins the wheel. I win the prize and I got this bad boy. Oops. This bad boy from Paul, a 9.8 Deadpool. Deadpool 3 just came out with Wolverine and Cable. Bro, thank you for this.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Are you kidding me? I'm very happy that you won it.
Yeah, it's my son.
Sure.
He loves that. Matter of fact,
cool.
Go follow my son, Retro Cannon. He's fun. I hooked him up with this, and that's from you. Thank you, Paul. So if you go over and watch Paul, not only can you hang out with a bunch of amazing friends, you might win something. Paul, tell them which of the people that's left. Most of these are your guys. But if there's anybody else that happens to, where can they find you? What are you doing? And what you got coming up next?
Well, I'm Paul in the 619. I have a live stream every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's a YouTube live stream community stream. And I pretty much have all my friends on there. And all we do is we talk about stuff that we love. There's a little bit of sports, collectibles, geek culture. But, the thing is that, being a community site, it's nothing without my panel and the people in the chat. And I got to tell you, Tuesday nights is like my favorite night of the week, because I'm the only one in this household that likes all of this stuff. So it's good to be together with like-minded people. And, it's just a lot of fun.
I feel that. Now, I'm not the only one in my house, but I'm the only adult in my house that likes it.
Well, you're cool like that.
Hey,
And
Mr.
you know what?
Sonny, you can definitely hold us to that if that's what you're saying. Hit us up in either Instagram or Facebook if you have either one of those. We have Twitter too, or X, which Farrell, who normally jumps in here, jumps on that. Farrell can't be on the next show, which was supposed to be his. We're going to have that Flipper dude on it. And we love him, and it's going to be a 90s show as well. Specs, you're welcome. We love your show, and we love Kichana. I have this
great energy. She's awesome.
You got the amazing friends. I have this crazy dream of everybody that's been a host on our show, which is like 60 people now that have a show. I want to do a commercial for them. And I'm just going to make a long video and put that out one time. And we're going to share those commercials. But the amount of work that's going to go into that is crazy.
You guys need to be on my live stream. You guys need a special guest. So we need, when you guys are available, I want you. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome dudes.
We're there.
Yeah, I would love for you to be on my live stream. You guys I love your energy. You guys are man.
Thank you. Look,
you guys are awesome.
We started this 3 years ago. It's been just a fun hobby. We're both youth pastors. I moved to Atlanta. It's a way for us to stay connected. It's a way to keep our families together. It's also a way to welcome our pastor friends, our leader friends, our good friends. And now we're getting into that creator world where the creator friends are showing up. It's like, you guys actually want to hang out with us? And it's fun. I love it. It's a great time. So, Specs, thank you so much. You're too kind. Zani, you're too kind. I gave my whole card collection away for some wacky tobacco. Now, we are both sober. We don't do all that no more, but we would love that. Hey, Dave, I love you. Random Rips, you're the man. Andy,
Yeah.
it is now time to send our friends goodbye. And hey, Paul. All right, Andy, you ready?
Well, Paul, again, I'm going to echo everything Kirk just said. Super pleasure having you on the show. We are looking forward to
Thank you so much.
on your show sometime soon. We
Yeah,
love
most definitely.
with our friends. So, but hey, for now, we're pushing 2.5 hours now. So let's say goodnight like we always do. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four.
And nothing more. Peace, guys.